It hasn't been easy, but the San Francisco 49ers do it again. A banged-up Niners team goes to New Orleans behind backup quarterback Mac Jones, bring home the W. A really great game for Mac Jones, and a whole lot more to take away from this one in Week 2. Coming up on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in and making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Appreciate the everydayers. If you're new to the program, welcome. Sub up on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcasts. And a really good one here in New Orleans in Week 2 as the San Francisco 49ers come away with a 26-21 win, improving to 2-0 now on the season, defeating those New Orleans Saints. And Croc, I think all eyes are on Mac Jones, and a little slow start, but man, just a very efficient performance. Number one key to victory was not to turn the ball over, not to lose the turnover battle. The 49ers did not. They were both better in the turnover category and especially the penalty category as well, which is a huge part of this one, which was in the end a one score game, Croc. I want to talk a lot about the defensive line as well, and how that pass rush has called game twice in a row now in 2 weeks, and some very close games coming up big at the end of games to prevent the home teams to have game-winning drives. 2-0 on the road to start the season, Croc, is massive for these banged-up San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, at this point, the 49ers are trying to figure out ways to just come out of these games with victories, right? And they are duct taped together, band-aided up, and I thought early in this game they were going to lose Juwan Jennings again because he was kind of hobbling around a little bit. I think even on his touchdown he was hobbling, running his route initially. Once he got the ball, he kind of picked up the pace a little bit. But this is a very wounded team. And heading into it, I didn't have the highest expectations. The thing I was kind of leaning on the most was Spencer Rattler's at quarterback. And he actually played decent. Like he made some plays with his legs, made some throws, kept them in rhythm at certain times, kept the Saints in this game, as a matter of fact. So he actually played better than I was expecting him to. But the 49ers offense played better than I expected. Again, a lot of moving pieces, a lot of missing pieces. And there are people like, oh, no, Croc. Kyle Shanahan is going to dial it up. Mac Jones is going to be fine. I'm like, yeah, I hear you guys. But this isn't Mac Jones with it's not Mac Jones with Debo and Ayuk and Kittle and CMC and a healthy Juwan Jennings and the best version of Trent Williams. And Mac Jones went out there. Are we giving him the first game ball? Yes.
I think you got to give a game ball to Mac Jones. I mean, anytime a backup quarterback comes in and plays well and you get a win, I think that's game ball worthy and a really clean slate for him. His I think after the last couple series, his rating might have dropped a little bit, but yeah, 113 passer rating, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 279 passing yards, 26 of 39 passing. And they leaned on the passing game in this game, which I think was a huge, somewhat of a shock, but I think I know why, Croc.
Well, I'm scrolling through social media, X, and Grant Cohn, someone who is known to love the 49ers and everything that they do.
Total homer.
Right? Yeah, total homer. But he, one of his things is controversial tweets, and he had put out the backup quarterback. It was to the, I should have pulled it up, but it says something along the lines of, when your starting quarterback makes $53 million per year, your backup quarterback shouldn't be able to come in and put up the same production. And for me, it wasn't so much about the production, right? Because I've seen Brock Purdy have more productive games. But and this may be a big nod to Kyle Shanahan, but considering the circumstances, it didn't feel like there was a big drop-off. And I think that's good. Like, that bodes well to, the 49ers, what they're doing, the kind of quarterbacks that they, look for and what he wants them to do. But I did not have high expectations for Mac Jones going into the game because of everything that was kind of up against him on the road, a team that had like 6 sacks last week. We're watching Dominic Puni kind of getting beat in the interior, right? Like the opposite line not playing its best. And he was solid. He made some good throws, some big throws. You can see, you talked about the start. It was very slow and clunky, but he got in the rhythm, throwing a lot of passes to Ricky Pearsall. I don't even know what his final stat line was, but Pearsall, I felt like, continued to make big catches for the 49ers. There was a lot of good. I thought it started with Mac Jones not getting flustered by a slow and kind of clunky start.
Yeah, and I did see. I didn't see the one you're referencing, but I saw a lot of social media stuff and a lot of people talking about, maybe some friends texting. Like they get very excited, and I think you could box score scout this one and probably tell a different story than exactly what was going on in this game, exactly what was going on with the 49ers, and how good Mac Jones is, how good Brock Purdy is. Again, like game ball number one, Mac Jones for sure. And it's funny because on my sheet here, on my notes, I've only got one game ball, but it's a combo game ball. It's Kyle and Mac, and I got a little heart in between them. Like we got to see what that alternate timeline was if the Niners would have drafted Mac Jones, and I think it would have looked all right. He was a professional quarterback in this game, and that's why my game ball was Kyle and Mac, because of just that, that idea of the guy that Kyle Shanahan envisioned in his offense in the draft in 2021, thought might be a really good fit, looked like a good fit in this game. I'm not surprised he played well for Kyle Shanahan, but also the big difference for Mac Jones and why he's a 49er right now is so he could have a real offensive coordinator and not have Matt Patricia calling the plays. You know what I mean? And that makes a player look a lot better immediately. And those are some of the things I want to highlight with Mac Jones, because I think knowing that it was the backup quarterback, knowing that, and we talked about it pregame, everybody in the world knows, okay, what do you have to do to stop this 49ers team with all the injuries? It's Christian McCaffrey, right? And so what happens? You get down in the red zone, little play action boot. It doesn't get easier than that, right? Because they had literally, I think 10 of 11 guys were like, let's tackle Christian McCaffrey. And Mac Jones says, nope, I'm going to boot left, throw it to, again, another backup in Farrell, the tight end, who rumbles into the end zone for a touchdown. Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield. It was a nice little throw, nice little touch throw, but you're an NFL quarterback. You better make that throw when you're running back or receiver. In this case, in the second touchdown pass, Christian McCaffrey was lined up, split out wide, but condensed, and then ran the out route. That is wide open in the NFL. You got to throw that touchdown pass, right? So it's like Mac Jones was good in this game. My big thing for Mac Jones, he didn't make mistakes. He didn't turn the ball over. But a lot of this was because Kyle Shanahan called a great game. I think the 49ers are even banged up or a better football team. The Saints are not a great football team. So you got to come out of here with a win. And I think the 49ers had a much better coaching staff offensively and defensively than the New Orleans Saints do in this game. And so it wasn't like, oh, Mac Jones put the team on his back and threw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's not what the game was. The game was the 49ers saying, well, we know what you are trying to stop, so we're going to do the other thing, and we trust our professional quarterback in Mac Jones. And again, he was good, but I think you get a little bit lost in the weeds if you start saying, okay, look at the box score. Look how awesome Mac Jones is. He's just as good as Brock Purdy. Quarterback controversy. You start saying all this wild stuff.
No.
That's not the case at all. Mac Jones did a really good job. He's a good backup quarterback. He could probably start for a lot of teams. I think the 49ers had a better backup quarterback in week 2 than the Saints had a starting quarterback, even though Rattler played okay, I think, in his own right. But there was a lot of reasons why I think the game script went this way. And I think Kyle Shanahan said, look, I trust my backup quarterback. He's a professional quarterback. They're going to key on Christian McCaffrey, and we're going to use that against him in this game. And it ended up being a pass-heavy game plan for Kyle Shanahan by design against the New Orleans Saints in week 2.
I think one thing that's easy to do when you see things like going well, especially how it picked up for the 49ers offense and, Mac Jones, it's easy to say, oh, Kyle Shanahan called a great game. But as someone who calls plays offensively, I can tell you this. You can draw stuff up and you can dial up plays, and sometimes just the execution is not there. And everybody's going to blame the coordinator, but it's like, look, I called this play. This is the read. It's there. He doesn't throw it there. Or, oh, look, he's late. Like, look how late he is. It's there right now. We worked on this all week. So I think we have to give Mac a little bit more credit especially as the game went on, for just executing certain things. And the biggest thing, and this is not me trying to compare, Mac and Brock or anything like that. Brock Purdy's a 49er starting quarterback, and that's not changing. And I don't think there is any kind of quarterback controversy or anything like that. But last week, and we'll see if this continues. Hopefully it doesn't. Brock Purdy scared me with certain attempts and certain throws. And I felt like in this game, I think there was one throw where Mac kind of got the ball out late. It was off of a kind of like a little play action type, and he threw it to the flat to Braden Willis, who's out there in a new number. And he kind of threw it behind him a little bit, and it was kind of contested with him and the defensive back. The defensive back kind of jumped. It was Reed, Eric Reed's little brother.
Yep.
Justin Reed. And that was one where I was like, that was in harm's way. But for the most part, I think Mac did a really good job of something I felt like Brock could improve on, which is you don't always have to be like super risky, or you don't have to throw the SHIT, type of throws. And you don't have to, like those are things where I see Brock do well a lot of times, but then in key moments, he starts to kind of do that. And we didn't see that from Mac, even when there started to be a little pressure at the end of the game. And, he's going to put the ball on harm's way, and he rolls out, he boosts to the left. They cut him off. He stops, drops that arm slot down, throws a little 2-yard pass to Jawan Jennings. Cool, right? Pick up 4 yards, whatever that is. But I'd rather that than you try to force something downfield and you end up throwing either an interception or a potential interception. And I thought that's where, not saying that, again, Mac's not better than Brock. I'm not saying that, but where you could say, you know what, I would like to see Brock be a little bit more consistent at these things in a small sample size for Mac. Maybe if we watch him play another game or another quarter, it could be terrible. And we saw that sometimes with New England Patriots. But that was, at least in this time with the Niners, in this game, he did a better job of that than what we saw from Brock Purdy last week with the same cast.
And that leads me to maybe the biggest impact that Mac Jones makes by looking good in this win for the 49ers, who improved to 2-0, and what it means for the health of Brock Purdy and the 49ers timeline on bringing in Brock Purdy back. More game balls to give out. I want to focus on some of the defensive playmakers and some other guys on the offensive side of the ball as well in this 49ers win in New Orleans next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make a lot of decisions every day. We make a lot of picks and projections and predictions, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. With football back, Prize Picks is the simplest way and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes. For example, if you picked more on Mac Jones yards and touchdowns, you're a big winner, all in less than 60 seconds on the FanDuel app. It's quick and easy, and it's really a favorite way to follow along with football and have a lot of fun getting involved. And you can find some max discounts as well in upcoming weeks and upcoming games, where you only have to get the more than on a half a receiving yard or half a passing yard on those specific players those given weeks. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. I've been telling you all about my new Doer jeans. They've been my favorite. I've been reaching for my new Doer jeans just about every single day, and I love them because of how they feel. The stretch. Doer has 5 times the stretch of traditional denim, and they feel stretchy without looking stretchy. They look phenomenal. There's so much technology that goes into it, and you wouldn't know it. They just look like awesome, fantastic jeans, but they feel amazing. They're antibacterial. They stay fresh longer. The Cool Max technology regulates your body temperature. So if it's a little bit cool, it's a little bit warm, you feel great in your Doer jeans. And there's a brand new Doer store in San Francisco, right here in Hayes Valley. So you can feel the difference for yourself firsthand. Say hi to Marcus and all the folks in store that are phenomenally helpful. Go to 567 Hayes Street and mention our promo code LOCKEDONSF in store to get 15% off your order, or check them out online at shopdoer.com. shopdoer.com/LockedOnSF. That's doer, D-U-E-R. Shopdoer.com/LockedOnSF for 15% off. Shopdoer.com/LockedOnSF. So maybe the biggest thing, we'll move on from Mac Jones here, Croc, but the biggest thing that Mac Jones looking good, it takes the pressure off the 49ers to really rush Brock Purdy back. You can make sure his toe is right. And remember the Niners and Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch talking about the injuries, 2 to 5 weeks, which is a really odd timeline. And basically it's week to week. And there was a lot of talk pregame. Brock Purdy might be able to come back maybe in week 3 next week. But if you're the 49ers now, you feel a lot better. First of all, you've banked 2 wins. You're 2-0 right now, and you feel good. You don't have to push and force your quarterback back when he's not quite 100%, not quite ready with his turf toe that we found out during the telecast was not quite the sort of the big toe, turf toe injury. It's more underneath the foot, and underneath the middle of the foot. You don't have to force Brock Purdy back, and it makes you feel like you can go get some wins with your backup quarterback, which is a huge check mark, I think, for the 49ers here. And so, again, Kyle Shanahan, Mac Jones is a pretty good combination right now for the 49ers, especially when you talk about a backup quarterback, and that's why they get game balls.
Can we also talk about one other reason why I think Kyle Shanahan should get a game ball? Coming out of halftime, as somebody who is on Prize Picks and picked the receiving yards of Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah,
I'm looking out there, and why is CMC not out there? The first play, the second play of the second half, he has done a terrific job of rotating and managing Christian McCaffrey with Brian Robinson. I mean, I feel like it's taken a big punishment off of CMC. I watched CMC catch the ball in the open field and didn't think he looked quite like CMC. So there's something there, and probably continue to work his way back into looking like the CMC we expect to see. But overall, Kyle Shanahan doing a terrific job of just making sure that he manages that situation the right way. We have harped over and over and over about his track history, which has been just force-feeding guys regardless of how banged up and beat up they are. And it's like, well, he's not going to change because that's what he's always done. And early this season, I mean, maybe he just trusts Brian Robinson more than any other backup running back that he's had or rotation back, but he's done a terrific job of getting him in there, getting him his reps and his touches. I didn't look at the box score to see how many.
Yeah, I got it right here for
Brian
you.
Robinson 6 carries, and he also had, I know I saw him catch the ball as well. Okay, 1 catch. So, I mean, 7 touches, but also there's some pass plays in there where he's protecting. I mean, we haven't even just seen that. There were times last year where JP would get like 1 carry in the entire game with CMC out there. And it's like, you got better from that. And I think he has. So kudos to him. And I give Christian McCaffrey, I give Kyle Shanahan another game ball just for that.
Right. 13 carries for McCaffrey, 55 yards, which is, a full yard per carry better than last week when he carried it 22 times. He had 6 more catches for 52 yards and a touchdown, and became the 3rd player in NFL history to have 50 rushing touchdowns and 30 receiving touchdowns in his career. And one of those other guys was Marshall Faulk, the 3rd player. Surprised me, and I'll let you all think about that. And a trivia question for you. Let me know in the chat if you know who that 3rd player was. But it's not an easy one to get. Being able to save Christian McCaffrey in a game like this as well. And again, I think that might have been part of the game plan, is knowing that they were going to be keen on Christian McCaffrey and almost using him as a decoy in some ways. And it worked really well on a few plays. And then they still were able to throw the touchdown pass. So he's a big part of the game as well at the same time, which is why Kyle Shanahan is, a ridiculously good offensive coordinator in the NFL. The offensive line, I think, so early, Mac Jones was a little bit under pressure, and you talked about how things looked clunky early on. But I felt like at some point, like I don't know exactly when it was, which drive it was, but all of a sudden, Mac Jones just had time, and everything just felt like it slowed down on offense, and he didn't feel like he was under pressure, and he had really good pass protection. And I don't know what it was or what changed necessarily, but I think there was something just clicked in the entire offense. Some point, first quarter, second quarter, and it was like, okay, it's relaxed, and now we're dropping back and we're finding who's open. And that could be Kyle, it could be the offensive line, it could be the coaching, it could be Mac himself. there was something that just kind of clicked in for the 49ers early in that game. And it was good to see that he wasn't constantly under pressure and hit a bunch too, because he took a lot of hits early in that game. And you don't want to be going to your third string quarterback. And Brock was hit way too much last week. And they fixed that during the game. I don't know if that was just circumstantial or if that's something that they figured something out. I don't know. But somehow the protection got better at some point, which I think was a huge factor too.
Yeah, there was one on a fumble by Mac Jones. That was kind of that Philadelphia Eagles Brock Purdy type hit, and I'm like, man, you don't want his elbow to get, tore all up after that. But yeah, no, you're right. I think they did do a good job of figuring out different ways to manage the pressure, whether it was getting the ball out of his hands quicker. He did hit some of those deep crossers and layered some balls in there. That was a terrific job. I think sometimes it's kind of like a quarterback. Like a basketball player, and you see that first shot go in. The coverage from the New Orleans Saints was extremely tight early on. I mean, those defensive backs, they weren't giving up an inch. And it seemed like once Mac was like, well, you know what, I'm going to throw it anyways into the kind of this tight coverage. They're going to be contested. Can some of my guys make plays? And Ricky Pearsall caught a couple passes. And then from there, it seemed like things started to slow down, whether it's from the protection or just the quarterback not playing fast.
How about a game ball for Bryce Huff? Calling game, coming off just running the arc, running under the table, as they say, getting that almost insta pressure and sort of a strip sack for the second week in a row. The pass rush coming in and knocking the ball loose from a quarterback that was driving down the field for a potential game-winning drive. Happened last week. It was Bosa. Thought Bosa might have called game with his sack earlier on in this one. But the Niners gave the ball back one more time and said, here you go, Saints, 94-yard touchdown drive. Let's see if you can do it. And Bryce Huff came up with the strip sack to end it. And he hasn't been hugely impactful for the 49ers. But again, I've been watching that defensive line rotation very closely. And Robert Saleh is kind of cooking. He's got something going with this turbo, I don't know what he even calls it, defensive line with 4 defensive ends on the field, as were on the field on that last play when you get Yetur Gross-Matos and Michael Williams rushing from the interior and Bosa and Bryce Huff on the outside. And they were able to get home to the quarterback multiple times with that look in this game.
I definitely did, especially, you talked about calling game late in the game and watching him bend that corner. I said, oh, that's why they got Bryce Huff.
Yeah. That
was a terrific job, just kind of dipping that shoulder, showing that nice bend and getting to the quarterback, forcing that fumble. I do think that for a lot of this game, Rattler he was just finding ways to make plays or make throws or make plays with his legs. So that's something that 49ers probably want to clean up just a little bit more. He did a good job of making guys miss in space. On one time, they went for it on 4th down, and they ran an option play, and he kind of, got Upton Stout to get upfield, which I heard them talking about Upton Stout on that play, and it's bad angle. It's like, dude, who's responsible? There's typically a guy responsible for the quarterback and the pitch man, and Upton Stout was trying to play both guys because they were like, who else is here to help? So yes, I'm going to be kind of over pursuing a little bit to the back because I have to take away the pitch guy. And obviously that allowed the quarterback to, get upfield and pick up the first down. So there was a little bit of that. But I think as the game went on, you saw them kind of tighten down a little bit more. And especially on the last drive or two, Nick Bosa getting home and Bryce Huff getting home as well.
More on the San Francisco 49ers win over the New Orleans Saints in week 2, more game balls to give out. And I want to hear from you as well. So if you're watching live here, post-game, rapid react style, let us know in the chat. What game balls would you give out to the 49ers in week 2? We'll get into it next. This episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by BetterHelp. We all turn to some funny places for advice. Your barista, your barber, maybe even a random stranger in the bathroom. But not everyone is the right one when it comes to real support and advice that can actually help. So that's why BetterHelp is here. With over 30,000 licensed therapists and more than 10 years of experience, BetterHelp helps you find your right match and someone clinically trained and credentialed to guide you through life's challenges. And it's also super flexible for your schedule. You can join sessions online, from home, on the go, which makes therapy fit into your busy schedule much better. So there's really no excuses to get that part of your life in order. And you can utilize BetterHelp to do so. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Find one with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. A lot of folks out there probably don't realize that they can get paid while they're getting gas. Are you still paying full price at the pump? Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash every time you fill up with the free Upside app. I've got the Upside app. I was skeptical even at first, and it's totally legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and you can too. You can see a map of which stations are involved and where you can get cash back when you're filling up at the pump. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. And use our limited time promo code TOUCHDOWN and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You could make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas you already needed. So don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now and use our limited time promo code TOUCHDOWN for 25 cent per gallon bonus. That's promo code TOUCHDOWN. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions.
Peacock, I'd like to give a game ball to a group of people.
Okay.
And that group is the New Orleans Saints receivers for early in this game, dropping a few passes that I felt like, I mean, obviously the 49ers really benefited from, especially if you think back to kind of like how the game ended up being and how the 49ers, I don't want to say squeaked away, but it's like, man, they have an opportunity to kind of potentially take the lead. And early on, I mean, it was Chris Olave, and it was kind of on his back shoulder, and he dropped it, and the tight end dropped the ball, and somebody else dropped it, another receiver, and then they missed that field goal. That kind of helped the 49ers just kind of settle in a little bit when they were still trying to figure out what they were doing. So game ball to the New Orleans Saints pass catchers for all the drops early on. A little bit contributed to the miss by their kicker.
We really are in sync here, Croc, on the podcast, because I was just going to go back to we talked a lot about the end of the game. I wanted to go back to that opening drive. And they did target Upton Stout a lot in this game, but they went after Renardo Green early, hit Shaheed over the top versus Renardo Green. Then Olave with the missed touchdown really like broke Green's ankles on that route and it dropped the touchdown pass. And then Warner with the pass breakup, and then they missed the field goal too. I mean, in a 5-point game, they had an opportunity for 7. They had an opportunity for 3 on the opening drive, and the Saints got 0 points out of that. I mean, that was massive for the 49ers in this game. And the first quarter is just as important as the fourth quarter. Spencer Rattler, by the way, had a better quarterback rating than Mac Jones, by the way, in this game. He was 25 for 34, not as many passing yards, 206 passing yards, but 3 touchdowns, just like Mac Jones, and no interceptions. So, I thought Rattler held up and was played a little bit better than I thought, even though I think Mac Jones outplayed him, even though the rating doesn't say so. Rattler was not terrible at all in this game. And the Saints kind of had the 49ers game plan from last week where they just ended up leaning on Christian McCaffrey for 31 touches. It was that kind of a game for Alvin Kamara and the Saints. And one of those late drives, I can't remember which one it was. I think Kamara got the ball like 9 straight times. It felt like that. Kamara was 21 carries for exactly 100 yards, 4.8 yards per carry. And he had 6 catches for 21 yards. And so, man, big time cat. I don't put the Juwan Johnson touchdown on Siegel. What about that play where he kind of went up over? That's just a big receiver. Siegel's in position to make a play, but Juwan Johnson just went over the top and pulled it down. Nice throw by Rattler to give his guy a shot too.
Yeah, terrific ball location, and the big tight end just made a terrific play, and to the only area space inch blade of grass that he could convert that into a touchdown. We see a defensive back compete with a guy and make him have to make that kind of play. I can live with that. Like, he had to really work for that. It's the ones where you get broke off, like we talked about with Renardo Green. You get broke off, and it's just, I'm right here. Obviously, it was a drop, but like that kind of touchdown, it's like, not good coverage. But when you've done everything possible, and they even have to go back and look and confirm, like, is this a touchdown or not? Because you shrunk the space that much. I'm not going to be too hard on the rookie for giving up that play. Obviously, you would like him to figure out a way to make that play, but it was a terrific play being made by both Rattler and Johnson.
Be honest, Croc. What was on your mind when Eddie Pinheiro missed the extra point at the beginning of the game?
You know what? I must have turned and didn't see him miss. I must have turned my head or whatever. And then when he made the next field goal, that was when I realized, wait a minute, why did the 49ers have 9 and not 10? So I had to go back and like, oh, this sucker missed. But then because the first thing I saw was him actually make the field goal, I don't know. Maybe I had a little bit more confidence in him. And then he banged through another one later. And that was good too. Doesn't look like he has as strong a leg, just naked eye. Not sure, but a stronger leg of Moody. But he was accurate on both ends. Even the ball, leaving his foot, from the moment you watched it, it never looked like it was going to miss at all.
Both of his all the rest of his kicks besides that missed extra point at the beginning of the game, like he kicks the straightest ball I've ever seen. There's no tilt or angle at all. It is just end over end straight on those field goals. And so that gave me more confidence after I saw a couple balls go through the uprights. I even saw Kyle Shanahan talking to Morstead, who's also the holder, and Pinheiro at one point on the sideline. Didn't look like an angry conversation or anything, but it was almost like they were trying to like figure something out. I wonder if on that extra point there was something. I mean, especially I'm thinking a lot more about that part of the system, as I think Tabor Pepper called it last week. And by the way, you got to go listen to that episode with Tabor Pepper. It was a fun conversation. I was thinking, I wonder if there's something with the snap or the hold potentially on that missed extra point too that could have been part of that.
Especially if you, and I think he talked a little bit more about this off air, with the way the ball coming off of the hand of Morstead, the holder. And it's something that I don't think we would ever think about. But for a new kicker that's just stepping in, hasn't spent a lot of time with this holder and snapper and building that relationship and that rapport, could that throw him off a little bit the first time he sees it in live action?
In the chat, Bryce Huff starting defensive end opposite Bosa? I don't think so. I think they've got it exactly right. And it was really interesting. The rotation, Croc, was almost identical to what the 49ers did last week with how they rotated everybody. Kalia Davis has another nice game as well at defensive tackle. It was, they had the Bryce Huff speed package out there with all the defensive ends, their kind of third down, go get them pass rush package. They had the same starting 4 last week with Michael Williams at defensive end. And then they did the same thing where the next drive, it was Alf Collins coming in the game. And then after that, it was CJ West coming in the game. And so very similar defensive line rotation. And it's worked so far for the 49ers over the course of the first 2 games. We got to talk about the long touchdown to Juwan Jennings from Mac Jones, 42-yarder. That was a huge one. Gave the Niners a little cushion for the first time in that game in the second half. And that was one of those Kyle Shanahan, Brock Purdy, Jimmy G, Mac Jones throws. It's one of those where there's a linebacker there and lurking. You got to trust it. You got to make a throw. And those are, maybe the linebacker could end up making a play on it, but he didn't. And then there was a big catch and run, and Juwan Jennings did the rest for a 42-yard touchdown. So that was absolutely a massive play. And I think I got one more to finish it, Croc, but do you have any more game balls or thoughts you want to get out here before we go?
No, I'm looking forward to kind of just rewatching and seeing what the takeaways I have. Maybe Upton Stout, and I think we all see some of the catches that he gave up, but man, he was competing. Washington get in him there on the sack. I thought he had a BS illegal contact penalty against him where I thought he made a terrific play on the ball and had really tight coverage. So they blitzed him quite a lot. And we talked about Samuel Womack when he was with the 49ers and why they removed him and why, hey, maybe it was the run fits. Not quite good there. Maybe not understanding it. Upton Stout was in the mix in there, even in the run game. So kudos to Upton Stout. Again, up and down in the sense of some of the plays that happened against him, but I thought he played well. Dee Winter, Mr. Remy in the chat talks about Dee Winters flying around. I mean, is it Dre Greenlaw 2.0? That's kind of what it looks
a lot like it. Does anybody coach linebackers better than Robert Saleh, man? There's man. Fred Warner, 54, Dee Winters, 53, 54, and 53 were just flying around in that football game. And the Niners are going to be in good shape if their linebackers are playing like that. So that's a good one.
Dee Winters, he made some tackles like a few different times where it was tackles. If you give up any type of leak yard, it's just a first down, and it's just contact. You're straight down, punt the ball. I mean, he was good. Dee Winters. I get excited more and more because that was a huge question mark, right? Okay, you got these young guys you're gonna have to depend on, and Nick Martin, and they drafted him in the 3rd round, so you're assuming they want him to play over Dee Winters, a guy that they drafted much later, and it hasn't quite materialized to anything, but this here it sure is. So it's fun watching him, and I'm excited to continue to watch the development of Dee Winters.
My last game ball goes to Coach Eric Crocker of Stag High, a 3-game winning streak, including a big league win as well. So congrats, Croc, doing big things over at Stag High in Stockton. And I've been I wanted to congratulate you on your first win, and I totally forgot about it, and it didn't come up on the podcast. So I wanted to throw that out there today. Game ball, Eric Crocker, Stag State.
One of the things I'm most proud of, all right, 2 things so far. I mean, there's a lot of things, and I can talk about my players and how they've been practicing and all of those things. But statistically, we're averaging 41 points per game. So that's exciting to see. And then defensively in this last game, we gave up 34 total yards. So that was awesome. Shout out to my defensive coordinator and I kind of have 2 guys that run the defense, one front end, one back end. But Coach Johnson, shout out to him. Coach Gonzalez, those dudes are doing a great job. And Coach Ruffin too, working with the back end guys. So guys are flying around, man, playing solid football and trying to get better at certain things. Special teams. It looked a lot like the 49ers special teams last year. 2 PATs on kickoffs. We gave up some chunk yardage, so we got to get better at that.
Okay, the 3rd phase, but the first 2 phase things are going okay. Guys, stick around because Locked On 49ers squad show is coming up with Triple E, Eric Engel, and my guy Eric Crocker jumping in, and the analyst seat there, Dwayne Board, 4-time Super Bowl champion as well. It's right here on the Locked On 49ers channel. So if you're already watching this, stay on this channel and catch the Locked On 49ers squad show. It's coming up post game right about now. Thanks everybody for listening. Back tomorrow right here, Locked On 49ers.